Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of Chat to Mac. Today we're joined by Allanah. So Allanah I've known for quite a few years now, and Alannah's heavily involved in sort of performing and dancing and general performing arts. So I thought it'd be a good idea to get Allanah on today, just to talk a little bit about the pressures and stresses around performers as a whole, so obviously with COVID, and just a little bit of background and some other bits and bobs that we'll touch on the episode. So hello Allanah, how are you?
Hi, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm very well. Thank you for coming on today.
It's all right, anytime.
Anytime. I hear you're very busy, but not in the sort of way that you'd like to be busy.
No, I'm busy dancing my little socks off in my kitchen. That's what I've been doing with my lockdown life.
See, some people would think that's quite a big stage, like almost as much as like West End. So like the kitchen is the new West End, apparently.
Yeah, I mean, I've got my dog who sits and watches me. I guess that's a good audience.
That is your dog a fan or a hater?
I hate her, to be
Oh, is it?
honest. She's not really interested. She just like runs away most of the time.
Oh God,
But
that's not a really good sign, is it? Right.
no, not at
So
all.
shall we start with a little bit of background on what you've, how you sort of got into performing? Should we start there? I think that's quite a good place to start, isn't it? So, like,
Yeah.
where did you and how did you get into performing?
So obviously at the age of 2 or 3, my mum was like, oh, I need to get my kid into something. She's got too much energy and I need to get her out socialising with other kids. And I was quite fortunate enough that my mum and dad was able to get me into quite a lot of different activities. So I done football, gymnastics, swimming and dance. And I just fell in love with dance, as you can probably guess.
Mm,
It started off just like the one-off ballet class every
mm,
now and then I started introducing more and more and more. And then it started to take over my life pretty much. I was in the studios Mondays to Saturdays after school from about 5 till 9, rehearsals all the time. And it's kind of funny that I think back at it, like the amount of birthdays that I missed and
mm,
birthday parties and events that I missed from my dancing. It's taken a lot of dedication. I think a lot of people don't realise like how hard it actually is to train to be a dancer.
yeah, no,
And
definitely.
I've given up so much. And I think it was around when I started like going to secondary school, I took with my friend Esme, we took our dance knowledge to school and like we started creating like little clubs and stuff, and there was like a dance academy at school, so like dance was literally everywhere in my life.
Mm,
And when I was 12, 13, the dance school that I was at, Mandy Ellen in Maidstone, a lot of you probably know of it, she had started up her own agency. And an agency is basically you have an agent, obviously, and they put you forward for auditions. And a lot of people as well don't actually know that these shows like Matilda the Musical, Wicked, all these little TV commercials as well that go on, you have to audition.
mm,
And it's a really hard process. And a lot of people as well don't know is that you actually go through more rounds than people make out. So you send in, first of all, your headshot and your CV. So the initial judgment that the casting director has is on the way you look,
yeah.
your credits that you've done, your height, your eye colour. But luckily, I got put forward for Billy Elliot, as most of you probably might know if you know me, I don't know. And I was 13, I didn't really think much of it. It was an open audition, which meant that anyone could go forward. So it doesn't matter what you look like. I mean, there was a height restriction of, I think at the time it was 5'2", and I was 5 foot. So I was, just scraping the
Almost,
barrel,
yeah.
and it was for a 6-month contract, just nearly there. And so I sort of got put forward, and I done that for a year or so. And then I got offered another contract, which was really good. But then I applied for a third contract. So basically, my first contract was 6 months, and then my second contract was 9 months. And during my 9-month contract, the main character changed.
Mm,
I don't know if you've heard of Ruthie Henshaw. She was in The Jungle, but she was
mm,
our new Mrs. Wilkinson,
mm,
and she's 5 foot. So this was already like 10 months in to like my 2 contracts, and I was 5 foot at the beginning, and now I was like 5'4", 5'5". So I was like, she was here and I was here, and we were supposed to be kids.
Yeah.
And I remember saying to my mum, like, I'm so much taller than her, like it's an absolute joke. And I said to my dance choreographer, I was like, oh, look, is it all right if, like, could I stay on as another contract? Because you had to apply and then they like go away and assessed it and blah, blah, blah. And she came back and she said to me, no, we can't offer you a 3rd contract. I was 14 at the time. And I remember thinking, why? Why can't you offer me a 3rd contract? Like, what am I doing wrong? She basically said that you're too developed. Which is, I think I'll touch on later on in when I talk about you as a product. Mm-hmm. But basically, I just couldn't stay on for a 3rd contract. And then after that, so I was about 14, I had that in the bag. I was like, yes, got my first West End debut. And then I got approached by an acting agent, and I was like, I didn't really know much about it. I was like, no, I'm not really interested. And he came back. And then I signed with him whilst I was at school. So I was still at school at this point. And then I was doing auditions for like EastEnders, Emmerdale, Hollyoaks, like a few little self-tape things like that. Yeah. And now I am currently at dance college in Swindon, and training to be a professional dancer.
So what would you say is like the end goal? Like, where would you like to take your dancing? Are we talking like strictly dancing eventually, or more like show based, or like background in music videos? Like, where would you ideally want to see yourself in like 5 years?
That is such a hard question.
That's a great question. That is a good question.
Because it's so hard, because the dance industry, there's one job for 3,000 people. And I just think you can't be fussy. That's why it's so important to train in everything, like dancing, acting, singing, because if you're in audition and there's you and another person, they might say, oh, can you do a bit of tap for me? And if you've never trained in tap, that automatically gives the other person the advantage. Do you know what I mean? So it's just best to train in everything. But my absolute goal is to go back to West End and be like a leading lady, or to be on TV as a presenter or an actress. I kind of want to try it all out. And then if that doesn't work out, because there's a chance that it might not, I want to start up my own dance school and competition team and take it round to like underprivileged countries that don't really have much dance and opportunities, if that makes sense.
I didn't see that coming.
That's the goal.
Yeah, I
See, full of surprises.
Yeah, I know. I definitely didn't see that coming. That'd be amazing. Like, I think even if like you do all the other stuff, if later on in life when you're a bit older, if you could still do that, that'd be brilliant, wouldn't it?
Yeah, because most dance careers probably end like, they're quite like similar to footballers. Like if you haven't made it pretty much by a certain age, your body starts like, you can't do all them flips and tricks and whatever if you're like 45, can you? I mean, maybe some people can, but I know I won't be able to.
No. I suppose as well, the thing with like the thing with acting, I imagine as well, is when you're a kid, there are like kid roles. When you're a little bit older, there's roles for when you're a little bit older. There's sort of roles for every age group, even to like someone's got to play some old lady in EastEnders at some point. Someone's got to play that role. So I imagine that's obviously something you could do for longer than say dancing, because it's not pretend like dancing.
Yeah, and I'm quite lucky. I'm quite lucky as well, because I look about 13, 14. So in most like TV programs that you see, when there's like in EastEnders and there's a story on some man sleeping with a girl underage, they don't actually like to have 13, 14 year olds playing it. They tend to get someone who's over 16, because then one, I don't need a license. I don't need it. I need a license, but I don't need a chaperone. So I'm kind of like a bit cheaper, I guess. Yeah. And that hopefully is my positivity, that I look about 12. So hopefully I can keep playing younger roles, and then my career goes on for a bit longer. So
how would you say, obviously what you've just said of being in Swindon and doing auditions all the time and things like that. So how was the coronavirus and being in lockdown? And I know it's taken a massive hit on the performing industry as a whole, but how's that sort of affected you? What's your day to day like now compared to obviously what it was before coronavirus?
Yeah, I mean, it is hard. It's really hard. Zoom is just one of them things, like, it's kind of life now. And that's what we've had to accept, that this is what it is going to be, maybe for the next few months, maybe for the next 6 months. I mean, we've been in and out of Zoom like a yo-yo. It's been ridiculous. Like, we finally get settled in the studio and then we're back out. And especially because I was injured in second year, I missed a whole year for my injury, then came back and was like, I'm fighting fit, I'm ready to go, to then go straight into Zoom and doing rehab and trying to get back to where I was really, really hard. And you can dance in your kitchen, but you can't dance as full out as you would on stage or in an audition. And I personally don't like singing in my house because I think, oh God, the neighbours can hear me. And that's I know I shouldn't care, but I really care. But it's kind of like, as well, that links to social media, because we aren't meeting any casting directors. As a third year now, I'd normally be put forward for auditions. I'd be out there in the industry, like, ready to go. But now it's like linking to social media. I'm having to change the way that I present myself, because I'm needing to put dance videos on my social media. I'm needing to make sure that my pictures are appropriate, and I don't want to present myself as this like party girl who's an absolute maniac, because then people aren't going to want to work with me that look through social media. And it's really hard because I hate watching myself back dancing. I know it sounds crazy, but I'm so critical, and I never used to be like that. I used to be quite a confident person in my dancing. I used to think, oh yeah, I could do that. Or if a teacher asks for a volunteer, like, my hand was always up first. I was always like, me. But Zoom has like stripped that back from me. And as well, being injured with like the coronavirus, like, it's just completely set me back to square one. And it's trying to like motivate yourself and also be there for your friends, because I'm not the only one in this position. There's so many other dancers, there's so many people in my class, but it's kind of like trying to find that motivation and remembering why you're here and what the end goal is, if that makes sense.
I mean, you said then about how your confidence has sort of gone down since one being injured, which affects confidence anyway, but since being on Zoom a lot. Do you think that's where you would normally, when you're dancing, I mean, I see videos online quite a lot when people are dancing in like a class, and they're getting so much like energy from the people watching, and like they're encouraging them. And do you think you sort of miss that positivity and that sort of infectious energy around you? Do you think that's why it might have made your confidence go down a little bit?
Yeah, I think I've always been a team dancer. Like, I've never been a solo dancer that could compete on my own. I've always been part of a team because I need to buzz off that other energy, but also I work really well under pressure. So audition situations is kind of where sometimes I thrive. But now, if I was to go back and do an audition now, I wouldn't feel how I used to feel about 3-4 years ago, because it's just been completely stripped back.
I think as well, that's another reason why I was quite keen to have you on here today, is because I'm sure there's a lot of people in the same, like you said, in the same boat as you, who may feel like they're the only one that feels like their confidence is gone. They might think, oh, you know, everyone else in my class, they're probably still feeling absolutely fine, whereas I don't. I'm the only one. Whereas now you're obviously speaking out and saying that you feel the same. So it should make people watching, if there's any performers watching or listening, that you're not the only one. And obviously you're someone that has openly admitted that it's a struggle. So that, again, that's a really
100%.
a really sort of good message to get out there, that you dancers out there and performers, you're all in the same boat and you're all struggling. And I think it's important that you all stick together and just sort of ride the wave, and you just got to be patient, and hopefully, like you say, in the next couple of months there's a bit of normality back. But so what's your sort of day, what's your day like at the minute?
So I wake up early. I say early, but about 8 o'clock. That's quite early for me, especially
early, yeah.
in these days. But I wake up and our college, actually, which is a really nice thing. I mean, they have tried their best to sort of do what they can in these situations, have put together day-to-day timetables. They consist mainly of fitness, stretching, ballet, like kind of the core things that we need, because obviously where we started Zoom last March, we've been able to give feedback of like what works, what doesn't, like what we enjoy, what we don't. And so I'm basically just still training 50-minute lessons. I have about 4 or 5 a day. And that's pretty much it, day in, day out. I mean, it's especially this week, I've really struggled this week because it's kind of like the second to last week of term. Normally we'd be in the studio getting buzzing to go home and see our families. But at the minute, it's just kind of like doing the same thing in the same 4 walls when you can't go full out. I feel like I can't see my progress. I feel like in fitness, because I'm not there, I'm just gonna stop when the teacher's not watching. Do you know what I mean? But it's trying to find myself saying, no, come on, Allanah, like if you miss a lesson, that's 50 minutes that someone else is getting. And that's what I've been trying to tell myself. But it's hard because you see your friends struggling as well, and it's like, oh, like you can't give them a cuddle, you can't like say, no, come on, you've got this. And over the Zoom as well, like we're muted most of the time, so it's pretty much just the teacher talking to us. And throughout the day we miss out on the chances to go for walks, because by the time we're finished it's dark outside, or we're really tired, so we're just looking at a screen all day trying to dance. And it's a lot harder than what people think. It's really hard to keep yourself going.
Especially like you say as well, you're obviously missing out not only on the physical side of dancing, but then also the social side of it as well. Like I'm sure you've got loads of really close friends in dance, and not being able to interact with them and sort of do the other side of being at a college. Like you do your learning, but then in social side of it is also really important, obviously. So I imagine that's been a big struggle for you and everyone out there.
Yeah, it has. It's hard as well because like the teachers feel it as well. The teachers don't really want to be sitting there all day looking at a screen, that when most students probably lag behind and they can't really give corrections out. And the teachers have been doing really well actually, because if they're negative, we'd pick up on their negative energy. And it's kind of like you sometimes have to remember, like, oh, if I'm being negative and lazy over Zoom, then my teacher might think like, oh, well, Allanah doesn't want to be in this lesson. So it's kind of like I try and tell myself, oh, we're a team. If you're positive, I'm positive. If I'm giving my all, then you can hopefully give me your all. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Does that make sense?
I mean, I'm a strong believer as well that like positivity is quite infectious. So if you're, I don't know if you would have watched it or not, but I've done the video with Maddie a little while ago, and we were saying how like mixing with positive people can only have like a positive impact on you. So like you say, obviously when you're in a class, if everyone's like, oh my god, I'm so fed up with this is rubbish, it's not the same, then the teachers are like, yeah, this is rubbish. All of a sudden everything that teacher is trying to tell you or teach you or get through to you, it's never going to stick just because you've got that I can't be fucked attitude about it.
Yeah, literally.
So I imagine that is, like you say as well, it must be tough for the teachers, because I imagine part of the reason they got into teaching is because they want to physically see what they are saying and what they're doing impacting other people, and obviously they're not being able to see that either.
Yeah, definitely.
So
it is hard for them.
What would you say at this moment in time are the sort of pressures around performers? Obviously, I imagine they're probably feeling like that the time they've got is sort of being wasted, and like in 4 years' time, there'll be people who are in your position now who are taking full advantage of that situation and position and smashing everything they're doing. Whereas obviously at this moment in time, you've got no choice really but to sort of, you can only do what you can do. So how do you sort of feel?
Yeah.
What sort of pressure is that adding on to the performers out there, do you think?
I mean, it's hard because, again, like I said earlier, when you audition in normal times pre-COVID, it was 1-2 jobs for 3,000 girls. And when you think about it, when the industry was back to how it was, so when the theatres were open in London and when people were filming normally, a lot of people did have jobs. But now we've got those people that aren't working, that are some of them are our teachers, some of them are ex-students, so last year's graduates as well, they haven't had the chance to audition. So it's almost doubled. So it's double the competition. So instead of one job for 3,000 girls, it's now one job for 6,000 girls. And the number's just going to keep increasing. The more COVID like prolongs the opening of theatres and jobs, the more people there are going to be to compete against. And it's a lot of pressure to find a job. I was saying to you, wasn't I, that as a dancer, you have to perceive yourself as a product. Like your look and your figure is what they want. Do you know what I mean? And a lot of the time as well, it's hard to deal with rejection. Like, why didn't I get that job? I could go into a dance routine and feel like I've absolutely smashed it and feel like I've done really well and had good banter with the choreographer and got like kind of good vibes, but then I might not book the job. And it's kind of hard to take it in as if like, why didn't I get that job when I feel like I smashed it? Like, is it me?
Do you get any feedback from them, or is it like a straightforward,
no,
oh, sorry, it's a no for today?
Some auditions are absolutely brutal. You could be stood in a room and they'll go, you, thank you, but you're done for today. And you're not told why, you're not told what can I do better next time. You're just, off you go, see you later, good luck for your next audition sort of thing. And it's kind of hard, like when I was auditioning when I was younger for like the self-tapes and stuff, when I was about 14, 15, it took a while for me to get my head around, why didn't I book that job? Like, did I do something wrong? Is it my talent? Am I not good enough sort of thing? And it's only recently as I've grown older that it's all on your looks a lot of the time. So most of the time, casting directors will have 5'5", blonde, blue eyes, and that would be me, perfect. Like I would be sent forward for the audition, then they might see me and be like, oh no, you're not quite right. And it's trying to deal with that rejection but picking yourself back up, and that's a lot of pressure, especially in these circumstances now when there's so much more competition. Is trying not to put that much pressure on yourself, that it might not have been the way you danced, it might not have been how you sang, but they know as soon as you walk in that room, they know straight away if they want you or they don't. And I remember one time I walked into an audition room, I was the only blonde, and I was about like, why am I here? Obviously I'm not what you're looking for. And people don't see that side of it. People don't see that we are like knocked down for sometimes how you looked. I mean, when I mentioned Billy earlier, my contract ended when I was 14 because I started getting boobs. Sorry, Tom, girl topic, but I started hitting puberty. So I started getting more of a shape in my figure. So I started getting boobs and a bit of a bum. I was a lot more taller than everyone. And I remember like it was the best time of my life. And I just remember crying to my mum, like, why can I not stay on? Like, I'm too tall and I'm too developed, but it doesn't affect how I dance. It doesn't affect how I sing or how I act. And it made me quite a resilient person, and it made me more determined to sort of do well. I mean, obviously I can't help the way I look. I'm either right for the job or I'm not, but hopefully my talent, and I try and say that my personality, and this is what I would say to anyone, my piece of advice for anyone in the dance industry is, your personality is what makes you different to everyone else. When you're auditioning for a job, you're all going to dance the same routine and you're all going to do the same thing, unless obviously you're acting, but it's all about your like relationship with the director and the choreographer. And it's like, if you was to audition and you get on really well with the casting director, they're more likely want you to do well. So they're more likely to fight for you, if you know what I mean. And I just think your personality is what makes you so much different to everyone else. And that's what you've got to try and remind yourself in those auditions, and what makes you different to all these 6,000 girls that's in here. Oh, I'm Allanah. It's a bit cringy, but I'm Allanah. I'm here. Like, I created this, like, oh, this is so embarrassing, but I created this alter ego that I've got, and obviously my name's Allanah Martin-Judge, as we all know, but I call myself Allanah MJ, and I'm like, come on, MJ, you're here ready to fight. I'm in the audition room and I'm buzzing with energy. And as soon as I walk out, I'm like little Allanah, and I'm like, oh, sort of thing. And that's what I try and like tell myself to deal with the rejection and the pressure of trying to get a job. There's a job out there for everyone. And that's what I try and believe. My agent said it to me years ago, because I said to him when I was getting all these rejections, like, what am I doing wrong? Am I not dressing right? Do I look ugly? And what is it? And he's just like, Allanah, there's a job out there for everyone. You're just not right for that one, but you can't give up. You just got to keep going and keep pushing.
Do you know what? I've never actually thought about, obviously, what you've just said there about how much pressure there is in performance and on performers as a whole on their image. Like with me, when I used to have like football trials, if I didn't get in, I mean, luckily I didn't really face that much rejection in football, but if I'd gone to a trial and I didn't get in, I'd know it'd purely be because I wasn't good enough. I never would have had to have suddenly thought, oh, did I have the right colour boots on? Is my eyes the right colour? Am I the right height? Like, it's bad enough not getting in somewhere because you're not good enough, but then have to worry if it's something that you can't even control, like your eye colour or the length of your legs, the size of your feet, anything like that. I imagine that's like, I'm quite surprised, shocked at how sort of, what's the word, like, what's the word?
I don't.
What's it when they judgmental, that's the one. Sorry for the delay. How judgmental like that industry is. I suppose as well though, that makes the Voice quite good, surely, because that's purely done on talent, which all performance should be done on. So that must be quite, unless that's actually all set up, I don't know, but going off like watching it,
I mean,
like
probably audition.
Yeah, but you say that as well, like you said about the stages of auditions. I didn't realise, a friend of mine went on Britain's Got Talent like years ago, and I always thought like if you applied, then you went straight to like that room where the judges are, but it's not. It turns out there's like 4 different stages before you even get to that stage. So again, people probably don't realise how much pressure and time goes into like one audition. Like you could plan a year or prepare for a year for one audition, and then you don't get in because your hair's the wrong colour. I imagine that must be so frustrating and like heartbreaking.
It is so frustrating and upsetting, and the thing is as well is it's only written on a piece of paper, so it would say for me, like I said earlier, 5'5", blonde, blue eyes, what else? Pretty much that's it. But there's so many girls. Like, think of how many girls you know that are blonde, roughly like my height, and have got blue eyes, and then you've got to compete on top with them. And it's kind of like there's a cut and there's a cut and then there's another cut. Like, auditions go on for about, they could go on for months sometimes until they find the right type. And it is really frustrating how like judgmental it is, but that's why I think as well, like, dancers and performers are so thick-skinned a lot of the time as well. Like, we're quite resilient, and we're just kind of, you just got to brush it under and move on.
No, I completely agree. Like, I imagine you can't really sort of stick on too many decisions, and you just gotta, like you said before, be resilient and just take every punch and just keep rolling with it. And like you say, or your agent said, there is a job out there for everyone. But again, I wanted to touch on like injuries, which I know you wanted to speak about as well. How much like you could literally secure your dream job, that's something you've worked for years, and then first day of rehearsals you could injure yourself, and then I was by Allanah. So that must be really tough. And again, pressure. I mean, that's a word we keep using, but there seems to be so much pressure in that industry, which I really didn't know about until we was talking.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much how it happened for me. I booked a job through my college, and we were rehearsing. Luckily I knew one of the choreographers because I've danced. She went to my old dance school. She's called Poppy. And I remember I was dancing and I felt this pain in my knee, and I was like, no, I'm one of them people where I just keep going. I just keep dancing. I was like, come on, stop being a wimp, get on with it. and we were rehearsing, and then I had a little audition within college, just a little mock one, and my knee popped, and I just thought, ouch. Well, I didn't think ouch, I was like, ouch, that really hurt. And I drove home that weekend, and normally with injuries like dancing, you just sort of ice it up and you just move on. And then my knee was just still in a lot of pain, and I was like, oh my God, this could be something serious. And this was in like November time. And I went to dance in one of my lessons because loads of people were sat out injured, and I was like, oh, I don't really want to sit out because it kind of looks like a lot of people are just sitting out today, they're just not feeling it. And I danced and my knee popped again, and I went to physios in Swindon. They just told me, oh, you've just done something like little, you can rest it up. And then I came home for Christmas and went to a physio in Maidstone, and he diagnosed me with I'd torn something in my knee, but it wasn't like that serious. I'll be on the mend. So I went on a crutch for 6 weeks. And before I went back to Swindon, I said to him, I was like, can you refer me for an MRI? Because my knee's not getting any better. I could dance in it and I could do things with straight legs, but I couldn't bend it. It felt like when you go to the dentist and you have a drill in your tooth and they catch the nerve and you're like, oh, it was like that, but in my knee. So he misdiagnosed me, and I asked for an MRI, and he said, no, you don't need one. I've told you what you've done wrong. And I was a bit like, oh, okay. And then I went back to college and thought, he sort of told me that I can dance if it's okay with everyone. And I went to dance and my knee just gave way. And I went to see a physio. She referred me for an MRI straight away. Luckily, I went private because I just thought, I've done 3 months of this and I've wasted about £500 paying for physios when I asked for an MRI sort of thing. And I tore my meniscus. And I don't know if you know what a meniscus is, but it looks like that.
Yeah.
And I tore it like this, so it had like a hole through it. And I needed surgery. And to get your head round that you've missed 6 months of your second year for an injury that you thought you had and you didn't, to then be told, so you need surgery now, was a bit frustrating, because I was a bit like, I know I've done something worse. I've wasted 6 months sitting out. I just sat in the changing rooms most of the time at college because some teachers don't like you watching, and then other times I was just sat there watching all the time. And I had surgery. And I met my consultant, and he sort of said, because your tear is horizontal, we might not be able to fix it. And I was a bit like, oh, okay. And I was like, so what does this sort of mean? And he was like, well, you may not be able to like pursue dance as a career, because the amount of dance that you do and the amount of pressure that you put on your bodies and your joints, your knee might not be able to hold up. And obviously my whole world came crashing down. It sounds so dramatic, but it literally was like the end of the world for me. I cried and cried and cried. I was like, what am I going to do? I haven't got a backup plan. And I was just like, this is just the worst thing I could ever hear in my life. But then it was kind of like, no, you can't dwell on the negatives. He might be able to fix it. So luckily I went into surgery literally 2 weeks later in February, and I'm so grateful that I did, because if I'd left it any later because of coronavirus, I still could be without surgery on the NHS.
Yeah.
So I'm so grateful that I was able to go privately and get it done at Kim's. And I had my surgery, and he came up and he basically said that he couldn't fix the tear, and bits of my is it kneecap? Maybe, I don't know, had started flaking off because my knee was like, it was just dying because there was no blood circulation to it. And he just said, like, look, there's nothing really we could do. You can strengthen the muscles around it and hopefully you'll sort of be able to do it. So that was a bit of a big shock for me. And luckily, I know it's not really luckily, but luckily when I was recovering from my knee surgery, we went into lockdown. So I kind of had a good 6-7 weeks where I was able to just rest my knee, not have to like dance at college, and feel like I wasn't really missing out because nobody was dancing at college either. And then obviously my physio was in Swindon and I had to do rehab on my own in my kitchen, like over Zoom. And that was the hardest thing, to try and to hear that I'm never going to dance again, to then having to get myself back to where I was without the guidance of someone professionally. And then I remember we went back for a bit to Swindon when lockdown was like over, and my physio gave me the go ahead to start dancing. And I went in to start ballet, and we went into lockdown again. So it was kind of like, I finally got the go ahead to dance in a studio full out, and I've been put back in lockdown again. And then to go back, and it sounds like a bit dramatic, but in dance studios we have like sprung floor, and it's obviously helps your knees and stuff, and
like
being your meniscus as a shock absorber, when you jump, it like absorbs all the shock and the momentum that you get. And to then have to do that in my studio, and then to not be able to get the full training that I feel I can and dance full out, it was really hard to get my head around, because it was like, I've gone back now further than I ever was, and then I'd lost all this confidence. And then it's kind of like, I'm going back to college and I'm starting to do really well, and then we go back into lockdown, and it's hard to think that I'm a third year, I'm in my graduating year, but I've only done a year of training, if that makes sense. Like, and to think now going out into the big industry with only 1 year of professional training, it is hard.
So dark in here. I was fairly similar. Obviously, like I had quite a few injuries, and I swear I had literally like no luck with injuries actually. And every time you get injured, you start doubting, obviously, because you know you're going to start falling behind. Obviously, the people you're sort of competing with are progressing every time you're not playing, or you're not training, or you're not performing. So then that adds pressure to then you fight really hard and you work really hard to get back, and then once you're back, something else happens and you're back to square one again. So I don't think people really fully appreciate how like confidence impacting injuries are. Like they could literally make or break someone. And for me, after I come back from my injury, finally, I was never the same person. Like in when I was playing, I was never the same person. I always sort of played like I was a little bit worried that it might happen again. So then I started playing from like within myself a little bit, and in the end, I just stopped playing because it completely sort of sucked the life and enjoyment out for me. And that was purely just from getting injured a lot. But then you get other people who seem to like go through their whole life without any injuries. I hate people like that.
I mean, touch wood, I didn't really have any injuries before my knee. I thought I was always more of like a back person. Like I've got a really tight back from gymnastics, and I just thought, oh no, knees is like just one of them things. I feel like you're either a knee person or you're not. Does that make sense? Probably not. But and I just remember I remember when I went back to dancing, we do a lot of things on the floor, and I was thinking, oh, I don't want to do that. And I can't get my leg up here anymore because my knee, like I've just lost my flexibility in that leg, and I don't want to pull my knee up. But then it's like, I've got another knee as well. Like, what if that one goes? Because anyone can like tear your meniscus, because you could literally do it by turning. It's like the rotation of your kneecap. And I just remember thinking, what about my other knee? Like, because I've compensated so much onto that leg where I was like limping a lot of the time, it's kind of like, is that leg really weak now and that knee's going to go? And it's like the other day that my left leg started hurting, and I was thinking, oh my God, like my other knee's going now, and I've just finally got back to it. It's like a year later and my other knee's starting to hurt, and it's kind of like, no, like prove everyone wrong. I remember my consultant said to me, don't get dance into your head, like you need to look at another career. And when he heard that I was back dancing, he was like, wow, like you've really strengthened your knee. I mean, as you probably know, like it takes a lot of hard work to get back to be able to do the smallest of things, doesn't it? Like obviously when you hurt your back, like to do little things, like even just, you'll probably know it as like a squat, but we do these things in ballet called a plie, and I couldn't do a plie without falling out of it. And to get the confidence to do just a squat, like it was crazy. And then here I am like a year later, sort of being like up yours consultant, I'm here doing cartwheels and handstands.
So would you say that now, confidence-wise, apart from obviously being in lockdown, but from your injury, you're sort of back to where you was before? Would you say you're more confident now that you've proved to yourself that you can overcome something like that, or?
I mean, I'm more confident in other aspects, so I kind of used my negative energy from my knee and I turned it into a positive. So I started focusing more on my acting and my singing, and then so I feel more confident in that respect. But when it comes to dancing and stuff, I'm not as confident as I used to be. I think it will take quite a while to get back to where I was. I mean, even when it comes to posting videos on Instagram, I'll post a video. A lot of my friends know that I've danced. They've seen me dance, like in school shows and whatever. And I sit there and watch it and think, I do not want people to watch it and think, God, Alannah's got so much worse at dancing. Like, she actually used to be all right and now she's not. And as soon as I post a video, that's always going on in my head. What about if people are comparing me to how I used to be? What about if people have seen some girl on TikTok that's an amazing dancer and now they're comparing me to them? Do you know what I mean? It sounds so stupid, but these things go in my head and it's trying to find that confidence of, do you know what? No, this is me. This is like how I dance. You either like it or you don't. Do you know what I mean?
But it took you a while to get that sort of mindset and mentality. And would you say that a lot of people could do with thinking like that, rather than putting that sort of added pressure on themselves and doubting themselves, just thinking, Joe, what, if you don't like it, you don't have to watch it. Someone out there will like it, and that's all I care about.
Yeah, I just think when it comes to like videos, or if you want to post something about you, I don't know, you learning a new skill or you completing a new challenge, if you went on a walk today and you didn't feel like going on a walk but you want to share it with everyone, I think we're in such a unprecedented time at the minute that it's like we need to be supporting each other.
Yeah, definitely.
And if you don't like what I post, I remember when I was in secondary school, me and Esme used to get quite a lot of stick for posting dance videos. People used to say, sort of take the mickey out of it a little bit, and used to say, oh, watching dance videos on Instagram make me cringe. And obviously me and Esme were like sort of the only ones that they would have known to be posting dance videos. So then when I post one now, to even think back to those times when it was like 5-6 years ago, it should be that we're supporting each other and bigging each other up. This is my talent, I guess. This is my career. This is my passion. And I want you to help me support it. If not, I'd rather you just unfollow. I'd rather you just not watch. If you're going to give me the energy of hating on it, I'd rather you give me the energy of actually not following me.
Yeah.
But obviously, you know what people are like these days.
Yeah, definitely.
Anything for a bit of drama.
It's funny you say that though, because like boys post pictures and videos of playing football and golf, anything like that, but then I guarantee some people look at a dance video and probably say, "Oh, that's cringy," but all you're doing is sharing a video of your passion, and a boy shares a video of him playing football. But the way they're perceived it seems to be so different just because of what that sport is. And like you say, if more and more people were just more supportive in general for one, someone's passion, and two, we're in a really shit time at the minute, and there's so much negativity in the press and in the daily news and things like that. You know, Facebook and Instagram, when you're meant to be with friends, they should be the positive side of life and the most supportive people, yet they're almost the ones that want to see you fail the most, which is shit, and it's quite sad really. But like I say, that is the world we live in now. We live in a very judgmental world, and there are some nasty people out there.
And a lot of people as well, like when it comes to dance, like I wouldn't watch a video of a boy playing football and be like, oh, that's rubbish, because I've got this new thinking thing, what I do, I don't know why. But I don't know what their story is. Do you know what I mean? I don't know whether that's a new skill they've learned. I don't know how hard it is, because I personally can't do it myself. So I'd like to think that when people watch me dancing, that they think, oh, that's something I can do. And she's been injured and she's doesn't really ever post videos, and now she is like, she's doing so well. And some people do genuinely think like that. Like I do get quite a lot of messages like, oh, Alannah, I love seeing videos of you dancing. But then I sit there and think there's definitely the few people that have sent this into their group chat going, oh my God, like, this is so,
Yeah.
like, watch this is so funny, blah, blah, blah. But it's just one of them things where you've got to try and not think about it. And it's kind of like with gym progress pictures, a lot of, for you boys, like, I think if you've lost weight or if you've toned up and you want to flaunt it, you flaunt it. Do you know what I mean? Don't care about what other people think. But then the boys get that stick, don't they, where they're like, oh, why are they like flexing? It's cringy and whatever. But I don't think it is. I think, do you know what? Bring positivity, bring what you've achieved, show what your goals have been over this lockdown and share it with everyone, because I think, like you said, we need positivity in the world right now. No negativity, positivity.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you very much for coming on today. You definitely, you opened up my eyes a lot about, one, the pressures in performing, and two, the stigmas around it and the judgmental side of it as well, which I really was oblivious to, especially with like the way they just sort of categorize you into different types. And I think it's really, really bad. But thank you for coming on and talking about that, and definitely sharing that side of it. And I'm sure people listening, if there are performers out there listening or watching, take obviously what Allanah said, and you know, you need to start realizing that you're not the only ones out there, and you all need to stick together and support each other. And in maybe 6 months, 9 months, however long it is, the good times will be back, and you'll be out performing again and doing what you do best. So big thank you from myself for taking the time out and joining, and hopefully you've enjoyed it.
I have. Thank you for having me.
That's
and I'm
no
sorry if
problem
I
at all.
chewed your ear off too.
It's fine, but
I
take
could
care.
talk for English.
Yeah, you definitely can. But yeah, take care of yourself, and hopefully I'll see you soon and see you out performing again and doing what you love, and same to everyone else. But thank you for joining me today.
Thank you. I'll see you
That's all right.
soon.
See you later. Take care. She gone? Well, that is the end of today's episode. Thank you to Allanah for joining me. Stay tuned for the next episode. Should be next week. I'm not sure who the guest is yet. It'll be a surprise, but thank you for listening, and see you all next time.